going on, everybody? This is Ben. Here on my YouTube channel, Ben Cornet 9015. I just wanted to talk about really quickly obviously the hot topic this summer around the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has been Baker Mayfield. He has talked about wanting to get a contract extension done before the start of training camp. He set his own deadline. It's not an official deadline, but it's his own deadline. And the Buccaneers, they've come out and said, according to reports, that they want to get a deal done too. And they want Baker as their quarterback now. There are a lot of fans who definitely want Baker back. Some fans don't want the Bucs to pay him a big contract. How do I see it? Well, personally, the market value for quarterbacks right now is around $50 million. And if you look at what Baker Mayfield has done, let's just say what he's done with the Bucs. This will be his fourth year with the team. He's, when he first got to Tampa in 2023, he got a 1-year, $8 million prove-it deal, which he did. Not only did he prove it, but he also won a playoff game in that span. So he definitely played well his first year. That earned him a 3-year, $100 million contract in 2024. And right now he is in the final year of that contract currently. So, last year he got off to a very, very good start. He was even considered an MVP candidate, and then kind of fell off the cliff, And the team last year, it wasn't all on Baker Mayfield. Some of it was the defense. The offensive line was decimated with injuries. But Baker has some blame too. He had some bad turnovers, and that's kind of been the norm in his career. I always compared him to Brett Favre. Fun to watch, makes some great plays. Sometimes he forces things and makes those bad decisions whether it's an interception or a turnover. But most of the time, he takes care of the ball very well. And I like that. I like that relentlessness. I like that, that tough attitude, that, take it to everybody. That's what makes Baker Mayfield so much fun to watch. However, when you're the quarterback of any team in the NFL, there's only 32 of those jobs. And the goal is to stay healthy, play well enough to help your team win. Now, Baker has done that a lot for the Bucs. He has. But he's also been hurt too. Even we saw if anybody's seen the series Quarterback on Netflix, you saw all the injuries he had. The shoulder, his bicep, his leg. I mean, the guy was getting banged up. And at that position, you have to stay healthy. That's very important to the team, especially when you're trying to get a contract, a huge extension. Now, for me personally, I feel like it's not so much the money with me, which would be like the $50 to $55 million range per season. My thing is the years. There's fans that want a 4 or 5 year deal for Baker around the $250 million, $275 million mark, similar to what Brock Purdy's getting for the 49ers. For me, I think that's just way too many years. Because again, Baker's 31 years old. And the kind of quarterback he is, the way he plays, he's a quarterback that plays like a linebacker, and he plays rough. He'll take hits, and I feel that's long term. That's not great for his health and for the team as well. So it's very important for him to not rush things, not to take it all on yourself all the time. So when you're giving him an extension, I feel like, again, I'm okay with giving him $50 million a year. It's the years, and that's what a lot of players want, not just in the NFL, but in the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, any pro league. Athletes look for more of the years and the security. I don't feel comfortable giving Baker more than 3 years. I would say give him a 3 year, 150, $160 million deal. Make it 100 of it guaranteed. So you'll get 2 guaranteed years out of him. That's just me. Again, I feel like with his style of play, eventually it'll catch up to him. And you got to keep in mind too, as much as I love Baker and I like him as our quarterback, the style of play, the way he goes out there and teammates just love him and play hard for him, run through a wall for him, just like Baker would run through a wall for them. He's at the end of the day, he only has one more playoff win than Kirk Cousins, and we know how much money Kirk Cousins has been getting all these years. And look what he's done. He's been team after team. So with Baker, I'm not saying he's worse than Kirk Cousins. I think he's a little better than Kirk Cousins, but when you only have one more playoff win than Kirk Cousins as an NFL quarterback, that's not great. And Sam Darnold now has more playoff wins than Baker Mayfield, because Sam Darnold won 3 playoff games last year to win a Super Bowl. So this is just my opinion. This video is just my opinion on what Baker Mayfield should get. I just don't want to go more than 3 years. 2 years guaranteed is good. And I know, and for people that say, well, that's insulting Baker Mayfield, guys, the team, Jason Light has to look out for the best interest of his team as well. He plays it smart. Sometimes he may play it a little too safe, but he's not over aggressive. So this is a team that, there's going to be a lot of questions to answer this year, and to see how Baker does, this season. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion on the Baker Mayfield contract. I think he should get 3 years, 150 to 160 million, $100 million guaranteed. So you get 2 guaranteed years at least. I think that's fair for both sides. Again, Baker's 31. He's not a young man anymore. He's young, but like Sam Darnold's 29. Josh Allen's in his 28. Lamar Jackson's 28 as well. And Baker's older than those guys. So that does matter a little bit, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, we'll see what the Bucs do. Again, I've heard they want Baker back, and Baker wants to be in Tampa. So, those are good signs. And we'll just wait and see how the contract turns out, whatever they give Baker. I'm not going to be mad or upset about whatever he gets. That's fine. Just my personal opinion. Again, 3 years, 150 to 160 $160 million. I think that's a good contract for a guy like Baker Mayfield. And they're going to meet at a medium. The Bucs and Baker. Baker probably wants more. He's not going to get as much as he wants. The Bucs may not give out as little as they want to Baker, so they're going to meet in the middle somewhere and then get this thing resolved. And hopefully it gets resolved before training camp. If it doesn't, then who knows? Maybe next year they tag Baker. But then again, you don't really want to do that. I don't think the Bucs want to do that, and I don't think Baker wants to do that either. He wants to be in Tampa long term, but at the same time, the Buccaneers want to make sure that, you know, they give him a really good deal, but not a deal that will, hurt them in the long run. So, anyway, that's my opinion on the Baker Mayfield situation, contract situation. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment and give me a like, and if you can, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ben Cornett 9015. And that's all I got. So football season's coming up, and I can't wait. So, guys, thank you for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys later on.